May ano ba yan? Smart TV ba yan?
Oo. Ay, kaso wala siyang internet.
Wala siyang internet. Can you check ano? All media. Sige. Said. Can you fix it lang? It's not coming out yung PowerPoint. Sige. Well, waiting. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. So today, there were a few meetings held by the Ombudsman. This morning, dumating po ang UNODC, Daniele Marchesi, as well as our resident and local counterpart, si Kirby Tibayan from UNODC to discuss areas of collaboration. Ngayon po, ang diniin talaga po ni Ombudsman ay magkaroon sana ng capacity building in terms of digital forensics, in terms of beneficial ownership structure analysis, and the freezing of assets. Hopefully po, ang Ombudsman ay sariling makaka-request no, sa Anti-Money Laundering Council para ma-freeze ang iba't ibang mga accounts ng mga sangkot dito sa flood control issue. So yun po yung pinapag-usapan nila. And at the end, the UNODC vowed their support in every program of the Office of the Ombudsman so that the two offices can work together hand in hand para po mapalakas po no, ang response natin sa mga anti-corruption policies, trusts, and advocacies of this office. In the afternoon, the Ombudsman also met with Justice Geraldine Ekong, Presiding Justice of the Sandigan Bayan, to discuss a few things. One is the digitalization efforts of the Ombudsman, wherein we are working out mechanisms para po maging electronic filing na ang mga submissions namin sa Sandigan Bayan para po mas mabilis at mas efficient po tayong gumalaw. Pangalawa po, pinag-usapan din po nila ang inordinate delay. Sa tingin po kasi ni Ombudsman and as based on records of the Sandigan Bayan as well as the Office of the Ombudsman, almost half of the cases that were filed in the Sandigan Bayan were dismissed not because of their merits but because of other matters, including inordinate delay. Kaya ito po yung isa sa mga pinag-usapan kanina, and the output was that a meeting will be set between the Ombudsman and all the Sandigan Bayan Justices para po mas malalim nilang mapag-usapan ang itong problemang ito. So, we welcome no, the efforts of the Sandigan Bayan to try and solve this problem. We understand that dito po sa Ombudsman, hanggang recommendation for prosecution lang po kami. Pero pag final na po ang isang kaso sa Sandigan Bayan, iba na po ang may jurisdiction sa kasong yon at nagiging isang party na lang po kami sa kaso na yon. So we hope that given this dialogue and the openness of the Sandigan Bayan to solve this problem, that we can finally put an end to the inordinate delay. So yun po yung dalawang nangyari today. And of course, ongoing din po yung ating digitalization process. There are 4 systems that we must mesh together para po mas maging cohesive ang ating sistema at mas madaling makita at mahanap ang mga records at mga status ng bawat kaso. So, we hired, or not, we engaged the services of a consultant to do all this dahil po kailangan na pong galawin ito, and hopefully in the next coming weeks, we can see a more efficient back end. And the marching orders of the Ombudsman is to incorporate artificial intelligence in the way that we do things here in the Ombudsman's office. Kasama na po dyan ang evaluation stage where it is quite ministerial. Ang hinahanap na lang po kasi sa evaluation ay dalawa. Unang-una yung kung related case po siya sa iba't ibang kaso na nakabinbin na po dito sa Office of the Ombudsman. At pangalawa po, kung kumpleto ang mga dokumento na supporting documents ng mga complaints. No? Dahil doon, mapapabilis ang evaluation and we are able to streamline our processes for earlier resolution of cases. Okay, so with that recap, I will now accept a few questions before I explain. No? Itong presentation ko po kasi, it will explain the universe of cases that we are looking to file, but these are theoretical. No? Dahil tomorrow po, pag meron mas marami na akong hawak na status update sa mga kaso, I will be briefing again the press regarding the actual cases. But today, we've prepared a few slides for you para malaman po natin kung ano yung mga tinitignan ng Office of the Ombudsman na nga pwedeng kaso dito sa flood control issue. And I will also show you the sample evidence and supporting documents that the Office of the Ombudsman will need and is striving to complete para po ma-file agad natin ang mga complaints. So, without further ado, please, any questions?
Sir, yun nga, ilan po ba talaga yung hawak na natin sa flood control and nasaang proseso na po sila?
So, we'll start with, okay, nung wala pa po kami dito, meron pong final na kaso regarding the SunWest Corporation that was involved in a contract in Mindoro. Mindoro Oriental, Mindoro. And that case is already undergoing preliminary investigation. The respondents in that case have been asked to submit their counter affidavits, and some have complied and some haven't. To which I will get your specifics tomorrow as to who has filed and who hasn't filed yet. It seems that that case will be the first case that will be filed in court. So we are hoping that after the preliminary investigation is over, meaning to say that the periods have been complied with, ay makaka-file na po tayo ng kaso. So that's one. There were 9 cases filed by DPWH, also before we arrived here in the Office of the Ombudsman. 5 of which were on the basis of fraud audit reports that were given by the Commission on Audit. Another 9 were filed by the Commission on Audit. And 5 of those cases are similarly situated with the 5 cases of the DPWH. So, kung 9 yan, parehas sila nag-9, yung 5 parehas. So, it leaves 4 original cases from DPWH, another 4 cases from COA, and then 5 joint between DPWH and COA. And then there were 2 cases, as you witnessed here as well, filed by DPWH with the assistance of ICI, with regards to those projects that were found in La Union and Davao. And then there were the 5 cases that were filed by the DOJ, which we have deputized again, the DOJ, to conduct the preliminary investigation for better use of resources dahil hawak na po nila ang mga ebidensya at ang mga testigo doon sa mga kaso na yon. Yung mga kaso po na yon sa DOJ ay 5 flood control projects na determine po natin ay ghost project. So, that is the universe of cases. And there's one more pala, yung sa UPACC that was filed last week by a group against Noel Rivera, Congressman Noel Rivera. No? So, yun po yung universe of cases that are pending within the Office of the Ombudsman, and we are still gathering even more evidence on the other reports that are being sent to us and endorsed to us by the DPWH. As of 2 weeks ago, the count was at 421 flood control projects that were, infrastructure projects that were found to be ghost projects. No? So we are slowly but surely working on the 421. But these cases that were filed with us, we have to process and make sure that resolutions come out as soon as possible.
Sir, question lang.
Yes.
Sir, dun sa DPWH cases, ito po ba may Bulacan din daw po na final na maaga? Na asan siya? Siya ba yung ka-merge ng COA o hiwalay pa po yun?
I will have to get back to you tomorrow. Oo. I understand na meron nga talagang kasama doon na Bulacan, but I'm not exactly sure which ones are the ones supported by the COA audit report, no? Fraud audit report.
Pero sir, may hiwalay pa na 4.
May hiwalay po na 4. Opo.
Sir, yung mga si Bryce Hernandez was here,
Yes.
si Henry Alcantara was here, sila po ay humaharap sa fact-finding para po sa ang reklamo ito o paano po ba sila papasok doon sa fact-finding?
Well, there are similar cases that the DOJ is handling. So, the instructions of the Ombudsman was to harmonize the efforts between the DOJ and the fact-finding and preliminary investigation units here in the Ombudsman. Nung pumunta po si Bryce Hernandez dito, there was a strategic plan that the FIO had para po ma-link ho natin sila sa mga proponents, no? That is what we really want for to happen here, na yung mga nakikita natin at nasasangkot na ngayon sa mga DPWH regional offices will be in a position to mention names that reach the proponents. Dahil yun naman po talaga ang dahilan kung bakit nagkakaroon ng ganitong mga flood control projects, substandard projects, tsaka ghost projects. And during his time here, si Bryce Hernandez, napansin po ng ating field investigator na halos parehas dun sa mga sinasabi sa DOJ. So, when we received that report, and given that we need to have a united front and a harmonized approach dito sa mga cases na ito, we decided that the DOJ would be the lead in investigating and interviewing these witnesses and respondents to the cases. So, yes, he was here, but it was only to see if there were any other names and any other accounts or statements that he could offer. But it seems as though that medyo parehas lang po dun sa mga kwento niya dun sa DOJ. And maganda naman po yung info sharing namin ng DOJ, kaya na-determine po natin na halos parehas po ang sinasabi niya, no? And so, given that, we asked the DOJ to take the lead para po ma-process din sila sa kahit anumang procedure na kailangan matupad.
Tapos sir, clarify lang natin yung status po talaga ni Bryce Hernandez. Siya po ay nag-a-apply, hindi na nag-a-apply na mag-state witness. Paano po ba yun? Kasi sinasabi, cooperative pa rin naman daw siya.
Yes. So, cooperative naman po siya. In fact, dun sa DOJ, nung nandun pa kami sa DOJ, nagbigay naman po siya ng isang ledger na ang nilalaman po ay mga proponents ng mga projects na sinagawa sa Bulacan, no? Dahil yun lang naman po yung jurisdiction niya, no? So, forthcoming naman din po si Bryce Hernandez, kaso lang po, kulang lang talaga sa ebidensya pa para mas maging matibay, no? Dahil kung testimonial evidence lang po ang inaasahan po natin, there is that risk na babaliktad talaga siya. No, that is a risk that we've seen in so many other cases. Kaya sana dito we can corroborate the testimonial evidence with other object evidence like photos, videos, recordings, screenshots, and even just more testimonial evidence para it can stand even if some witnesses decide to turn back on their statements. Actually, I think we're ready already here. Papakita ko lang, no, yung mga elements of the crime and the corresponding evidence that we need to see. Ayan, okay. So, we'll go through it quickly, no? There's malversation of public funds. There's violation of Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Sige, baba pa. Nasaan napunta yung PowerPoint? Sige. Third, there's plunder. Fourth, falsification of public documents. Fifth, there's violation of the Government Procurement Reform Act. Six, yung mga administrative offenses po natin. Okay, so, akyat ulit tayo. Ito yung mga madalas na babanggit, no? Online and in certain commentaries, na ito yung mga kaso na pwede nating i-file. So, yung sa malversation, kailangan po yung offender ay isang public officer na may control at custody over the funds or property by reason of his office. And the funds were public and accountable to him, and that he misappropriated, took, or consented through abandonment or negligence to their misappropriation. Ito po yung maganda. Yung COA fraud audit reports are the usual and typical pieces of evidence that we need to show pag malversation of public funds ang gusto nating i-charge. No? Along with that, yung DPWH vouchers, yung disbursement vouchers, na nabayaran po talaga yung amount for the project. Testimonies or affidavits from field engineers or residents that showing no work was actually done. Mga bank records po, tracing progress billings, checks deposited to personal or dummy accounts, and then forensic audit showing liquidation documents fabricated after payment. So ito po yung mga sample evidence or yung mga hinahanap nating ebidensya para mapalakas po yung mga kaso natin. Hindi po sapat sa tingin po ng ombudsman ho natin, given the threshold that we will now impose, yung prima facie case with reasonable certainty of conviction, kung testimonial evidence lang at isa lang tao ang mag-testify. So we need itong mga iba't ibang klaseng dokumento para ma-support po yung testimonial evidence ng isang tao. And I will give a copy of this to the media para po mas aware po tayo, no, kung ano talaga ang hinahanap namin. Ano yung mga documents na kailangan namin para mas maging matibay yung kaso. Ayan. Sige, so para hindi na humaba, I'll just leave a copy with all of you para makita nyo at ma-analyze nyo din.
Sir, balikan lang po natin yung mga pagpunta nga po dito for fact-finding. Are you saying now, sir, na wala na pong pupunta dito for the moment kasi DOJ na po yung hahawak? Ganun
Yes.
po ba?
Yes, that's true. So, the DOJ has been tasked by the Ombudsman to head the preliminary investigation as to the cases that they have filed, and included in that are the testimonies of Bryce Hernandez, Henry Alcantara, and JP Mendoza.
So, sir, hindi rin natin isasabi na possibly yung mga Diskaya, Yusek Bernardo, wala pong ganun, sir?
Si Yusek Bernardo, gusto natin siyang kausapin din dito dahil ibang legal theory naman po ang tinitignan natin para doon sa ating yung mga above the salary grade of the district engineer, di ba? Napakaklaro po na pag yung yung ghost project na nasa Bulacan lang ang pinapag-usapan, madali po talagang hanapin yung evidence dahil yung completion documents, nagsacertify po kasi ang DPWH na kumpleto na isang project, pero meron ding report na walang nagawa doon sa site na yon. It's an open and shut case. But the legal theory tends to change when you're talking about including the proponents at such a large scale dahil marami, alam naman ho natin at lumalabas po talaga sa mga statements and testimonies ng mga witnesses natin at ibang respondents na it is a systematic thing in Congress dahil sa unprogrammed funds, dahil sa NEP. So it's a completely different legal theory that we have to pursue para ma-prove natin yung systematic approach ng Congress pagdating dito. And we can assume that at the heart of it is the Appropriations Committee. Diba? Dahil dun po talaga ang approval ng budget pagdating sa bicameral committee. So, that is one thing that we want to clarify with Yusek Bernardo, kung ano ba talaga ang naging sistema dyan sa taas, kumbaga. Hindi po talaga sapat na itong mga district engineer at assistant district engineer ang makukulong dahil alam naman ho natin na mas malaki ang problema na hinaharap natin, and it can't just be these district engineers and assistant district engineers.
Sir, what about the Discayas?
The Discayas, due to their uncooperative behavior now, there's absolutely no chance that they can even become state witnesses anymore. Dahil because of their statement that they are uncooperative, then they are deemed to be hostile witnesses and can only be charged as respondents and in the future accused, no, in the case of malversation of public funds, falsification of public documents, and all the other crimes that they were a part of. Dahil alam naman ho natin na higit 4,000 po ang sinalihan nilang bids around the country, and kahit anong scheme or scam na nakita natin sa DPWH, kasama sila. So it's impossible that they can be considered as a state witness for all those crimes that they've committed. So choice nila yon. Kung gusto talaga nila na maging uncooperative, then the government has no choice but to run after them with every ounce of effort that we can muster.
Is it tantamount to saying na yung protection na given to them ay maalis na rin ng DOJ?
Yes, definitely. Kasi ano po yan yung protection na binibigay po sa kanila was as a consequence or as a result of the application that they had to become state witness. Kasi prelude pa po yan Yung protected witness was a prelude to becoming a state witness. But sa tingin po natin, there's absolutely no chance right now kung maging hostile sila sa atin.
Sir, follow up lang po dun sa midnight appointees. Meron na po bang mga nag-comply dun sa order ni Ombudsman Remulla for them to tender courtesy resignation?
Meron na po. Meron na pong nag-tender ng kanilang courtesy resignation. I am not aware of how many have submitted, but there's a good number that has submitted already and have shown their good faith to the Ombudsman regarding their recent appointments or recent promotions. Ang gusto lang talaga kasi ni Ombudsman is to start on the right foot. Ngayon, pagpasok po kasi ni Ombudsman, nakita po niya through the CSC that there was an uptick of appointments made by the previous administration very near the end of his term. Kaya po, nagulat na lang din si Ombudsman na nung 7 years, only the last few months were used for the appointment and promotion of several employees here at the Office of the Ombudsman. Again, having said that, it is not an act of retaliation, it is not an act of revenge, but a call to be loyal to the office. Dahil si Ombudsman naman po, ang gusto lang talaga niya, maging loyal sa opisina ng Ombudsman at hindi sa isang tao o sa isang personality. So this is his way of reminding everybody who works in the Office of the Ombudsman that the loyalty should be with the office and not with any single individual.
Sir, meron bang mga ayaw pang mag-tender ng courtesy resignation? And until when yung kanilang window to tender the courtesy resignation, and ano yung consequence kapag hindi sila nag-comply?
Well, we will cross the bridge when we get there. There are certain moves na nagagather sila ng support para hindi mag-file ng courtesy resignation. And the Ombudsman is aware of that. But again, he's giving another chance to these individuals na mag-file talaga ng courtesy resignation nila as a show of good faith. Dahil pag wala naman po tayong tinatago in terms of the procedure in which that they were appointed or they were hired or promoted, then there's really nothing to worry about, no. So ang gusto lang natin makita na they are willing to put full trust in the new administration and specifically with the Ombudsman himself.
So, sir,
Dagdag ko lang,
ano, ay, sorry. Sir, ano mas marami? Yung nag-tender na or yung ayaw?
Hindi pa namin alam kasi hindi pa naman tapos yung 7 days na binigay namin sa kanila para mag-tender, no? So we don't want to preempt anything. Again, we just use this opportunity to urge them and encourage them to file their courtesy resignations as a show of good faith.
Sir, sabi niyo po kanina may mga certain individuals na nag-gather para di sila mag-file ng courtesy resignation. Does this mean, sir, na meron po sa loob na actions or initiatives para kontrahin yung bagong liderato ng Ombudsman?
Well, I don't think we can really label it as a yung kinokontra na mismo ng ibang tao si Ombudsman, but it's just siguro they feel and they believe that their position is worth protecting without really seeing the whole philosophy behind why the Ombudsman is doing this. No? Hindi naman po yan para manggipit or para lang insultuhin ang mga taong na promote or ma-invalidate yung kanilang mga appointments, but it's more of just, yun nga, a show of good faith and a pledge of loyalty to the office.
Sir, can we ask for the update regarding with the dismissal order for Senator Joel Villanueva? Sabi ni Ombudsman na iimbestigahan yung surprise and secret na nangyari with the Plaza administration.
I mean, that's a discussion that is still being held within the office as to what remedies are available. Dahil po, na-receive po natin dito sa opisina, no, yung motion for reconsideration noong 2016 pa. Ngunit ang resolution ng motion for reconsideration ay niresolve noong 2019. And so a 3-year span within which a motion for reconsideration was pending is a very long time. And there's a lot of things that could have happened in the 3 years. No? So we are trying to sift through the records now para makita talaga kung ano yung nangyari noon and why it wasn't resolved in such a long time. And once we are able to sift through all those documents, makikita na ho natin kung ano yung mga remedies na pwede nating i-pursue.
Sir, follow-up lang regarding sa tanong. Kasi last week yata si Congressman Terry Ridon, sabi niya i-review raw yung timeline kasi ang paniniwala niya, kung yung pinail nga ng 2016 tas inaction na ng 2019, dapat wala na yun dahil nagpas na doon sa period na dapat nag-reply yung Ombudsman. Is this a consideration?
Obviously, that's one of the things that we are also considering. That's why sinabi ko kanina na given the amount of time that lapsed, there are many things that could have happened. So there's nothing like going back to the records and making sure that we didn't miss anything. So that's what we're doing now, doing our due diligence para po malaman natin kung ano yung mga remedies pa po natin.
Sir, may possibilities kayo mag-usap si Ombudsman rin ulit o yung former Ombudsman regarding that matter?
I don't see the point in them speaking about this. I think the records will be able to speak for themselves.
Sir, pwedeng bumalik sa Discayas?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, sa Discayas po, sila po ay isa po dun sa inireklamo, I understand, dun sa mga DPWH and COA complaints. So are you saying, sir, ang possibility na lamang ay sasabihin na lamang sila
Yes.
for the PI?
Yes. The wheels of justice will turn on the Discayas if they refuse to cooperate. tignan na lang ho natin kung hindi pa rin sila magko-cooperate, kung nakakulong na sila. We'll see. Kasi lahat po talaga ng kabalastugan ng DPWH pinasukan na talaga ng Diskaya. So I don't think they're in any position to bargain with the government, especially with their status as state witness. It's beyond that already dahil sa nakita ho nating ebidensya.
Sir, are they still bargaining? Meron pa rin po bang efforts on their end na makipag-usap?
Yung pagtalikod nila sa gobyerno at yung refusal nila na mag-cooperate ay sa tingin ho natin part ng strategy nila na makakuha pa din ng something dahil siguro sa tingin nila napaka-importante sa ang mga statements na hinahawakan nila. But again, tignan na lang ho natin kung hindi pa rin sila mag-cooperate, kung gumulong na po yung ating proseso dito sa Office ng Ombudsman.
Sir, pero gagamitin pa rin po natin yung mga previous statements nila or yung testimony sa ating investigation since hindi na po sila nag-cooperate?
I don't think they ever submitted a sworn affidavit or a sworn statement. Pwede nating magamit po yung mga sinabi nila sa Senado dahil yun naman po ay under oath, no? Marami naman silang sinabi doon at meron naman silang affidavit na sinabmit doon sa Senado. Kaso nga lang, yung problema doon, pag binasa mo yung affidavit na yun, kulang na kulang. Hindi po specific yung mga acts, no? At you cannot call or you cannot satisfy the elements of a crime using the affidavit that they submitted. At sa tingin ko, yun po ay deliberate din. Dahil ayaw nila na mapako sila sa isang statement, ang ginawa nila, nagbanggit lang sila ng pangalan, pero wala silang supporting evidence na binigay, or yung statements mismo nila doon sa affidavit ay hindi specific para talagang masabi natin na may nangyaring krimen. Yun po yung strategy nila eh. Binibitin-bitin ho tayo, tapos ngayon, completely nag-refuse na sila mag-cooperate sa gobyerno, pero wala naman silang mabuga na kahit anong tulong. So, tignan na lang ho natin. Kami, I think the Office of the Ombudsman is ready, willing, and capable to go after them as of now.
Sir, regarding sa SALIN na under the jurisdiction of the Ombudsman, paano yung policy, sir, sa pag-release nito? Meron na po bang formulated guidelines?
Yes, I think na-circulate naman natin yung guidelines na yon. It's just that we need the 15 days of publication before it becomes effective. Again, the Office of the Ombudsman Central is responsible as a repository, of the SALNs of the President, Vice President, and the heads of constitutional commissions.
Sir, meron magbabago ba yung policy considering yung statements ni Executive Secretary Bersamin na while willing si President Marcos na i-release yung kanyang salin, kailangan daw merong request at reasonable, merong dahilan bakit may request?
Well, it's the same here also that you need a purpose, no? But as a general rule, all requests will be granted except for the grounds that were listed in the order, no? So we hope and we urge again all government agencies that serve as repositories for SALNs to follow the policy that the Office of the Ombudsman has put forth. And that is, as a general rule, to be open to the granting of the requests of all SALNs, subject to some justifiable grounds upon which a request can be denied. But if you look at the grounds, ano ho yan eh, self-explanatory ho yan eh. Malamang hindi tayo papayag na gagamitin ang SALN para sa threaten, intimidate, coerce ng isang tao. Hindi rin pwede nating i-release ang isang SALN sa taong alam natin na dati may record na mali ang paggamit ng SALN. So yung mga ganun po, at I think, ano naman ho yan eh, it's very understandable and it's very self-explanatory pag binasa ho natin ang rules.
Sir, sorry. On old memorandum lang ni former Ombudsman Martirez, meron po kasi siyang memo before na kapag natalo yung case, hindi na i-a-appeal. Is this memo still in effect or magbabago ba yung policy with the new ombudsman? Kasi just last Friday, the Enrile case was, it was jumped by the Sandigan Bayan. So going forward, ano ba yung maaasahan namin policy kapag unfortunately the government lost the case?
Discussions are still going on regarding that administrative order issued by the former ombudsman. However, it is the hope of the ombudsman that an MR will no longer be required for an appeal to be made to the Supreme Court. Dahil po, usually MR is used as a precondition para pag appeal mo, sasabihin mo, I exhausted all my remedies down below. Pero sa tingin po natin, at kagaya din po sa DOJ, hindi na po kailangan ng motion for reconsideration para mag-file ang petition for review sa DOJ proper. In the same sense, we want to consider the motion for reconsideration and maybe just doing away with that requisite na para lang makapag-appeal, hindi mo na kailangan mag-MR. Kung if you disagree with the decision, you can already appeal it to the Supreme Court without necessarily filing a motion for reconsideration. But again, this is all still discussions, no? So yung effect po kasi ng ginawa ng dating ombudsman, he effectively barred the appeal dahil if a motion for reconsideration is a precondition to the filing of an appeal, and he said here his policy was do not file a motion for reconsideration, that means an appeal is no longer possible. Tama po ba? So, ngayon, the ombudsman, in a discussion earlier, mentioned na sana yung motion for reconsideration ay hindi maging requisite para mag-file pa ng appeal.
Sorry sir, how does it work if ever, halimbawa, kung ibang case, ibang case, natalo yung ombudsman under your watch na, parang ano yung parang ini-envision ni Ombudsman Remulla this time kapag natalo?
Appeal agad.
Court diretso.
Appeal agad. Oo. Kasi sa tingin ho niya, matatagalan na lang po yung kaso pag mag-file ka pa ng MR, most of the time, maybe 90% of the time, the judgment is the same. Diba? So, instead of having to file an MR, which is purely ministerial on the part of, yes, oo, magpa-file na lang kaagad sa Supreme Court para mas papabilis pa yung resolution and finally, the case can be put to rest.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.